But we get to our top story, which is in Brazil. They're taking the first step towards internationalizing oil exploration. And this is a big deal because it's a multinational consortium and foreigners want in on Brazil, but so far it has not been open. The deal gives the winning bidders 35 years of production rights in the Libra oil field. That area holds an estimated of 12% of the country's underwater reserves, and it is the first auction to be held under a new legal framework that opens up international investment. There are 4 companies that are involved in the Libra oil field development, 1 Brazilian, 1 European, and 2 Chinese. Stephen Gibbs is in Rio de Janeiro with more on this story. Stephen?
Well, Phil, that's right. The vast Libra oil field, several hundred kilometers off the coast of Rio. For several years, the Brazilian government had been suggesting that as many as 40 international companies could be bidding to produce oil there over the next 35 years. But in the end, things turned out quite differently. In the end, there was just one envelope with one bid. Inside the envelope was a figure, 41.65%. That's the amount of its oil profits the successful consortium will pay to Brazil. The Brazilian government says that despite the far from frenzied bidding, the deal is good for the country.
This is a new beginning for oil production in Brazil.
The huge Libra oil field is believed to hold up to 12 billion barrels of recoverable oil. It's the biggest of Brazil's massive offshore oil discoveries, first made in 2007 and described by then President Lula da Silva as a gift from God. But the oil is in exceptionally deep water and under several kilometers of rock and salt. Brazil needs foreign investment and technology to share the multi-billion-dollar risk. The successful consortium is led by Brazil's Petrobras with a 40% stake. The Anglo-Dutch company Shell has taken 20%. France's Total also has 20%. CNPC and CNOOC, both from China, have taken 10% each. Members of the consortium say it represents the perfect match of expertise and market access. Do you feel kind of safety in numbers?
Well, it's become a big consortium. It's become the best consortium you can dream of about expertise and know-how on ultra-deep offshore. I think Shell, Total, Petrobras, we are all among the leaders in the world. And the Chinese bring a solidity, enormous solidity, because we know all the appetite of the Chinese for Brazil, for oil resources, and we know we have very strong partners who are going to help throughout the 35 years of the contract.
But not everyone is happy. Outside the hotel where the auction was held, a small but vocal group of protesters were saying that there should be no foreign investment at all in Brazil's oil sector. Well, the successful bidders will have to operate in politically sensitive waters, but of course they see the upside, and that is something that's very rare in these days. A global commodity, a massive oil field that's as yet untapped.
Stephen, the other big story that's happening there is these protests. Explain to us how perhaps that might be related to these deals.
Well, what's going on in Brazil really since June is that there is a section of the Brazilian population that has started to protest against a whole range of things, from corruption to bad public services. And some of those people also think it's completely wrong that Brazil should be allowing foreign investment in its oil industry. They believe that this is effectively selling off something that should belong to all Brazilians. Now, as a result of that minority, I should say, of opinion, there were protests outside the auction today. And in fact, the Brazilian president, we understand, personally suggested that the army should go out on the street or should be protecting the hotel and the delegates there. And we saw some fairly dramatic scuffles between the police and the army and that sort of hard core of protesters. Now, the government's point of view on all of this is that there's no point in having all this oil offshore unless you use it, and the only way you can get it out of the ground and into the coffers of Brazil is by calling on foreign expertise. So they're sort of unapologetic about it. And I should say that the deal actually, many international observers say, is generous to Brazil, and therefore some international oil companies, including those from the US, didn't partake.
Stephen Gibbs, live for us from Rio de Janeiro. Thank you very much. Stay safe as you're covering the story. Thank you.